it got to the point where, yeah, like it was from October till the end of that year that was just basically like a solid 3 months, 4 months of extreme panic and like constantly thinking I was pretty much dead.
You always thought that you would be having a heart attack.
Yeah, I always thought I was having like heart attack, stroke. What else?
If anyone ever made toast in the house, Shelby would come out of his room freaking out.
Dude, I still get that. I don't like freak out about it, but when I was living with Kevin a couple months, well, for like the past year, I would like I'd be standing there and I'd be like start smelling something. I'm like looking around, I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, what is this? I'm like, dude, are you burning something? He's like, dude, I'm making toast. I'm like, holy fuck, man. I was like, thought I was having a jammer again, but like, now I'm like really aware of it right away and it doesn't trigger me and send me into a freak out. But then it was like, yeah, someone made toast. I'm like, holy fuck. And like, or I would be driving and I had an old truck and the door seal was like not sealed and it would like send wind on my legs and my legs are hairy. So it would make me feel like I couldn't feel my leg. And I'd be freaking out thinking like, fuck, I'm having a stroke. Like, and I'm like, is that even a thing from a stroke? But like, I don't know, I would get that all the time. Or
the time I had to drive you to the hospital because your beard was tickling your face.
Yeah, like my facial is probably like how yours is right now. And like, it's just enough where it starts to get itchy. And I'm like, dude, like I'm having a stroke. I can't feel my face. And I'm like freaking out. And like,
I remember that day. I think it was the heart attack issues. Well, what you thought was going to be a heart attack. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think I legitimately took you to the hospital 6 times in one day. And I think it was either after the 5th or 6th time. And you came back and then like half an hour later, you're laying in your bed and I'm out like in the living room watching a movie or something. And you're like, Jaymie, I think I was just feeling my beard. It was just tickling my face. Like, I get it now. And I'm like, holy fuck. And I've just been interrupted every hour to drive him to the fucking hospital and waiting there. And I mean, I'm trying to be a good brother and shit. Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, like he's going through shit. Get in the fucking car. Let's go again. And then after the 5th or 6th time, I actually just couldn't even handle it. I'm just like, okay, clearly this isn't the solution. Like I was either gonna have to like slap you out of it or something, and then I ended up just texting our friend Janine and just being like, look, can you fucking take him now? Because like I'm done. I can't go a 7th.
Man, like, and I would go into the hospital and I'd be like, okay, like I'm having a fucking heart attack. Like I'm literally dying. You need to check me right now. And like when you say that, they do take it seriously.
But not on the 7th time.
No, but they get me in there and they put the heart shit on me and they're like, and I'm like, fuck. I was like, yep, this is it. I'm gonna know. I'm fucking dying it. And then like they do the test, like you're fine. I'm like, I'm not fucking fine. I'm like, do it again. I'm like, I know what's wrong. And like, what was weird about it is I so badly wanted them to tell me that I had one or was having one. Like I wasn't going there, I wasn't like scared that like I wanted that to be the truth because it was such an unknown time. And like, that's what a panic attack is. You don't know like why you're having it. And that's what made it hard is like, I was having them so much. I just wanted a fucking answer. I was like, if I'm having goddamn heart attacks, like, let's just get it over with. And like, that's what it got to.
So then how did it get worse or did you start climbing out of it from there?
It got to the point where I forget when I made the realization I was going to try something else. I'd done a bunch of tests through the doctors too. Like the doctor, I did my diabetes test through the doctor. Basically, like I kept coming in and he's like, okay, fuck, like let's do some tests. Does a blood test. Everything comes back fine. He's like, dude, you're fine. And I'm like, man, how the fuck am I fine? And he's like, okay, well, like that's a big problem with diabetes, not being able to stay hydrated, all this kind of shit. I'm like, okay, let's do the test. So we do it. And he's like, yeah, like it's probably, like you probably have that. And I'm like, okay, fuck. So like, I'm thinking like diabetes. I come home and I tell Jaymie and our friend Tim, who was living there, I'm like, man, like the doctor thinks I have diabetes. And they just burst out laughing. They're like, bro, we've been fucking telling you this forever.
It's because at this stage, he was in his cheesecake phase. So he was still just like, Tim and I would just look at him. He'd just be eating fucking cheesecake for dinner. every day.
Well, and the thing about the food too for me was,
oh, we used to go for dessert. Like you'd always just be like, okay, like we're going for treats tonight. You do like Menchie's,
every night,
cheesecake, man. Dairy Queen, just like anything that was sweet.
Oh yeah. And yeah, we go to Wendell's a lot and just sit there and just mow like a cake. I would get like 2 desserts. I'd get a peanut butter cake to go and like all this shit. But growing up and like through all of that, what people told me about food was that they'd see what I'm eating. They'd say I'm going to get fat eventually, or B, they'd say I'm going to get diabetes. That was about the 2 things I only ever heard. So,
and you were far from fat.
Yeah, I've always been thin no matter what. So like I've ate really shitty for 20 years and I've ate good now, and my body hasn't really changed. And so in my mind, I was always like, okay, I'm not fat and I don't have diabetes yet. I'm fucking healthy. And that's literally what I thought, right?
And that's honestly probably like, it's easy to think that way. And a lot of people do, and they don't, they don't apply food at all to mental health or like what is actually internally going on in their body, their real health.
No, like I literally had zero information about anything in the body, anything about food. For me to think that food would make a difference, I would have just laughed and told somebody they were fucked. Like I remember even the first time that, because Connor was the first one to do the vegan vegetarian thing like way back.
Yeah.
And then you were doing it a little bit then too.
I started as a test and
I think that was even when we were living at home. Mm-hmm. I just remember like looking and being like, what a fucking idiot. I'm like, who the fuck would eat that? It doesn't even matter. It just looks like shit compared to like whatever else we were eating. So, and I never cared. And even in my mind, one of our friends' brothers had diabetes, and I'd see him and whatever, you fucking prick your finger and do a little thing. And it's like, either you have to like take a little bit of insulin, or if your sugars are low, you just eat some chocolate bars, insulin. Man. So like, I'm like, okay, whatever. You have diabetes, sugar's low, just eat more candy. So I was like, I just didn't give a fuck. I was like, I don't care. Like I could gain weight and if I get diabetes, worst case, tons of people have it.
And then I can eat more candy.
Yeah. I like honestly didn't bother me. I was like, fuck, I don't care. So that's kind of like why I kept down the same path of food. It just was never linked. And every time I went to the doctor, he didn't say shit about food. They don't say anything. They get no training on that. So I kind of like I did those couple tests through the doctor, and then there was nothing. Like it wasn't getting any better. It got to the point where I was eating, I would eat like maybe a bowl of soup in like a week. Like I couldn't eat shit. I was just laying there, and it was coming up to Christmas. And I remember one day I was just laying in bed, and I was it literally felt like it felt like I was dead, but like I wasn't. I don't know. I finally just almost accepted that like, I'm just going to die. Like I didn't know what else was going to happen. I was laying there, and I've just never felt like, I can't even explain how weak I was. Like my whole body was so sore too. Like it was insanely sore, insanely weak. My brain was going insane, and I was just laying there like, fuck man, I think this is it. And that's kind of when it all changed. Feeling that and kind of realizing, I had a lot of time to just lay there and think about what the fuck could be going on too. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't going to work. I was just like laying there trying to stay alive. And finally I decided I needed to try something else on that day. And I pushed through Christmas because all the like practitioners were closed, and I went to start, and that year I started seeing a naturopath. And the first time going in there, explaining my story and what's been going on, it was I think I was probably there for like 2 hours, and leaving there, I had got more information from that than I had from a doctor like my entire life. And he's like, okay, well, we got to figure out your food and all this shit. And I'm like, man, and I didn't really believe in it at the time either. I'm like, okay, bro, like what? I'm just going to eat stop eating chicken, and I'm just going to be good. So it didn't.
And it's crazy to think back now that a lot of people are they live their whole life thinking that.
Yeah. And I think that's something that is sad to me is I'm like, I look back and I'm like, fuck, like some people, you know, mine was an extreme case. Not an extreme. Well, I think because I added like more extremes to it. Like if I wouldn't have, you know, been in like crazy stress situations from finance, business and stuff, how long would I have lived in that same kind of fucked up state for?
It could have been your whole life, and people are in that right now. And I do. I think that's the saddest part, actually. Like, I mean, I can't speak for you, but I consider myself a lucky one. And, and people who have a realization like you had as to be lucky, like, yeah, maybe it was more severe, but that severeness pushed you to find something else and try something else. Whereas other people, it's so mediocre. They just keep, I mean, not to say it's not hard, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like at this part where it never pushes them. To the point to really try something. So then they end up just mediocrely going through life, never really finding a solution.
No.
And I think that is the saddest predicament to be in, because those people would never know they're even in it.
No.